welcome to Devils United. Today I'll be doing another player profile. With me today I have got Jake. Jake, thank you for coming on.
A pleasure. Thank you for having me on. Thank you. It's looks like a great podcast you've got here, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
It's a pleasure to have you on, and thank you for taking the time. So I was bringing you on today just to discuss about Nathan Bishop. He's one of Manchester United players. I know he's been at Mansfield as well, and we just wanted to discuss about him, his time at Mansfield. I know he played basically every single game as well in League Two this season.
Yeah, he was exceptional. From the moment that he arrived, really, you could tell that he had a lot of quality about him. I think he did very well at Southend. Obviously, Man United signed him from there, and I think they wanted to have him there as like an understudy to David De Gea and Dean Henderson and somebody like that, somebody who can learn from two elite goalkeepers. I think it was the right move to send him out on loan to a club like Mansfield, where he can learn. The Mansfield goalkeeping coach, Seamus McDonough, he's a legend of the game, and to learn under him would be great grounding for somebody like Nathan. And at the times that I've spoken with him, he's been absolutely wonderful to deal with, especially from a media standpoint. He was great with us, and then his performances on the pitch matched that. He rarely made mistakes. Even as a young sort of 21, 22-year-old goalkeeper, you could just tell he was an experienced head on young shoulders. And I'm going to use this time now to plead to Manchester United, can we have him back? because he was very good with us. But understandably, like, I'm sure Man United will want him to get experience elsewhere, possibly League One, maybe higher. But again, I've seen sort of rumours that he could be linked to Wickham or Exeter City, which again would be a great move for him. But if he wouldn't mind coming back to Mansfield to finish what he started, then that would be great. But again, he was a superb player to have at the club, and again, it's just a shame that they didn't quite get over the line at Wembley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mansfield had a great season, didn't they? Altogether, they managed to get to the playoffs of League Two. Did you manage to get to the final or the semi-finals for the playoffs?
Yeah, well, I commentated on them through work, which was a real honour for me to commentate at Wembley. That was a huge dream of mine, achieved fairly early on in my career. But yeah, I've commentated and reported on them for every game, home and away. So I got to see Nathan Bishop at his best, and again, he was superb. And even though there's the disappointment of losing in a Wembley final, you can't look at that season and consider it a failure or anything like that. It was it was dramatic. The season itself, it was just, I can't really think how to describe it really, because it was just one of those. It had everything, and I don't think even Nigel Clough has had a season like it as a manager or a player. I mean, they won the first two games, and then they went on a torrid run and didn't win for, I think it was 13 or 14 games. And you were thinking, we're going to be in for a long season here. But there was always that belief underneath that once they got a win again, that things would turn and they'd start to develop and climb up the table. And they did. And they went on and won. They went on an unbeaten run for several months, really, including an immaculate home record, which still stands to this day, really, as a record. I think it was 11 or 12 home wins in a row, which is unheard of in League Two. They made it a real fortress, and they were absolutely superb. So that helped project them to the top end of League Two. Narrowly missed out on automatic promotion by a couple of points or so. But even then, considering where they were, I think they were 22nd back in October. And then to get from there to a Wembley playoff final, I think they can consider that a great season. And that, including in that, beating three, winning a couple of good cup games as well. That was great. And with it being the first season that fans were allowed to come back into stadiums, I mean, you couldn't have picked a better season, really, because it had everything, and the fans certainly got their money's worth. And I just hope that this forthcoming season, which is 26 days away, hopefully that they can go one step further and get to the promised land of League One.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can imagine for yourself how amazing it was to be at Wembley, especially commentating as well. What was the atmosphere like being at Wembley and for yourself to witness it for yourself there?
It was great. Like I've been to Wembley before for to watch gigs or watch a couple of England games, but to go into like the press facilities and commentate on a team that you followed for so long, it was a dream come true. And you look at the facilities that they've got there compared to the facilities that, understandably, that there are in League Two. Wembley, it's tenfold really. So to go there and experience it, I think over 17,500 Mansfield Town fans went down on the day. I think a similar number with Port Vale. So for a League Two attendance of that level, I thought it made for a brilliant atmosphere. The final itself, from a Mansfield perspective, it wasn't ideal. Obviously, going 2-0 down in the space of a couple of minutes and then getting a player sent off, it made it a real struggle in the second half. And so it in the end, the performance and the result didn't quite live up to the expectations of the final. But that's just part of it, unfortunately. I think that they were very, very close. I think on another day, had other chances gone their way and other chances gone in, then we could well be talking about Mansfield being in League One. But as it is, Port Vale picked them to the post, and yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens in this new season. But to be there at Wembley, I mean, I just went to soak it all in, and it was terrific. The facilities, the atmosphere, just the stature of the stadium was outstanding. And then obviously the following day, Forest getting promoted through Wembley as well as a Nottingham boy. It was a brilliant occasion for them. So yeah, just glad one of them got to go through in the end, because it would have made a pretty shocking weekend if both Nottinghamshire clubs didn't make it through. But thankfully Forest did, and hopefully Mansfield won't be too far away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And Mansfield just need that little bit more now to push themselves over the edge to get to that League One, because as you've said, they were so close. And even looking at the table as well, they had 77 points and in 46 games. Absolutely terrific. Just it was like literally 4 points away, wasn't it, from getting that playoffs to getting that automatic promotion. So it was so close considering where you were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it's a very tight league in League Two, and you were looking around at other teams around you, your Northamptons, your Bristol Rovers, Port Vale, Tranmere, and then you had your Forest Greens and Exeter Cities who were doing very, very well for themselves, and they've been sort of up there for the last couple of seasons. So it only seemed like a matter of time before they were going to get into League One. They've got a good club stature, they've got great facilities, and you can see why they are where they are, because they were brilliant. And Mansfield aren't far off that at all. I think I can't remember how many points they finished on. They were, I think, it was 77 points, like you said. And in some seasons that is enough to get you up into League One via the automatic promotion places. But because of the quality that seems to go up season on season, there seems to be a larger number of teams now that are capable of getting promotion to League One. Well, in any league really, it seems like now. Before there was sort of 4 or 5, 6, maybe 7 teams. You think, right, they'll be up there, whereas now it could be sort of 10, 11. So yeah, they were close, and I think Nigel Clough and his staff, they know that it's only going to take a couple of tweaks. They don't need wholesale changes to this squad. Really, the nucleus is there. They signed Hiram Boateng, who's a really his signing has gone down really well. Understandably, because he's a quality player, especially at League Two level. I remember seeing him a couple of times, I think, for Exeter City and MK Dons as well. And you're thinking he's a good player, good box-to-box midfielder, and somebody that Mansfield will get the best out of, I'm sure. Signed Scott Flinders as well from Cheltenham, a good experienced goalkeeper who can compete for the number 1 shirt. So I think add to that a couple of good loan players and 1 or 2 other additions as well, then Mansfield should be set for the new season. They just need a certain Mr. Bishop to come back and hopefully spend another season at Mansfield. But again, I'll reiterate the point that it's fully understandable if he wants to go and try and improve his game in League One with either Wickham or Exeter or whoever else is in for him. So, but Nigel Clough did say that the door is not completely closed, and he's yet to sign for anybody else at the moment. So who knows? He might well start for Man United. We'll have to wait and see if injuries to David De Gea. I know Henderson's gone to Forest, so who knows? He might have shot up the pecking order. Might well see him in the Premier League.
And Lee Grant as well. He's also retired, so we've only got 2 goalkeepers left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind sparing one, if you want to send us David De Gea, then we'll have him, and you can keep Nathan Bishop if you like. But if he's happy to come back to Mansfield, then it's no secret that the Mansfield fans loved him. The management loved him. I mean, he was great to have at the club, and wherever he ends up for the new season, I wish him well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Thank you everyone who's already watching so far onto the channel. Eugene, Rather, Doug, Neil and Reese as well, who's in the chat. Doug has got a question for you, Jake, and that is, what are Mansfield's ambitions for the next season?
I think that would just be a simple one really, and that's to get promoted. I think that they sort of set small targets to try and sort of work their way up League Two, because after the David Flitcroft season, they had a bit of a lull period where they weren't able to get sort of out of the top up towards the top half of the table for various reasons really. But once Nigel Clough came in, they sort of put some measures in place so that he could sort of try and slowly work his way up the table, because it doesn't happen overnight. I think there's a lot of expectation there that particularly with Mansfield's facilities and the budget that they've got with the owners, that they should be up and around it immediately and should be challenging. But unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't work like that. It's a slow process, as we've seen with Forest Green and Exeter City, various other clubs around League Two, and I think it takes time. Mm-hmm. And I think ambitions, of course, a promotion, and I think Mansfield are ready for that next step into League One. They've got a lot of League One quality players. You look at the likes of Ollie Hawkins has played there, and James Perch, Stephen Quinn, Jordan Bowery, all signing new deals to keep them there for at least another season. Also the likes of Ollie Clark, Stephen McLaughlin, or a lot of the players at Mansfield have played at higher levels. And so I think it only feels like it's going to be a matter of time. It was close this season, of course, but I think next season, even just a couple of extra points where they dropped points before, that'll see him over the line. But again, you cannot predict what's going to happen in the new season. So ambitions-wise, certainly they'll be looking to get top 3, if not top 7 at the very least.
Mm-hmm. And Reese has got a question for you. If you could hope for one area to be improved next season, where would you want strengthening?
This season, they sort of covered all of their areas quite well, I thought. That's the thing with Nigel Clough. He signs a lot of versatile players, and a lot of them can play anywhere. If I pick one out, for example, Jordan Bowery, he was signed by Graham Coughlin as a striker, just as a centre forward, and Clough has had him played at left wing back, right wing back, centre half at some stage during the pre-season friendlies. So it's difficult to know where they want to improve. Really, I'd imagine they could probably do with another centre back to allow Ollie Hawkins to go further forward, because they had a huge issue defensively last season, just because for various reasons they weren't able to have a consistent back four. James Perch fractured his skull in training back in August. Mm-hmm. Ollie, they had to move Ollie Hawkins back. There was obviously COVID as well, which hit a couple of players, and add to that various injuries, suspensions as well. So I think to get an extra good centre half in would certainly help, and I think that would allow the likes of Ollie Hawkins to move forward. They've got Kellen Gordon back as well, so it means that Elliot Hewitt can move into centre half, and Kellen Gordon could go at right back. So they've certainly got a lot of quality in all the areas, which is where I think Mansfield have done extremely well. The midfield is pretty solid. I think Nigel Clough has said it in his press conferences this week that he only needs like maybe one, if that, to complete the midfield, because the nucleus of that team is so good. So yeah, I think in terms of strengthening, really, it's just adding on to the quality that they've already got, and I think that's something that Nigel Clough does extremely well.
Mm-hmm. And I'll go with the last question from Rabbit. How good do you think your Mansfield defence is?
I think it's certainly up there with some of the best in League Two. It's hard to gauge it really because at one stage that they had the same sort of back four, and they were very solid. They had Elliot Hewitt at right back, Ollie Hawkins, John Joe O'Toole, and Stephen McLaughlin, and that seemed to be like the signature back four really. And yeah, they'd go to Sunderland and win by a goal to nil. They'd keep clean sheets fairly regularly, including thanks to Nathan Bishop as well. He pulled off some brilliant saves. So defensively, I thought they were very, very good. Of course, with it being a League Two defence, there are going to be errors, there are going to be mistakes in there. But on the whole, I think it was certainly up there with some of the best in League Two. I go back to my previous point. They might need one or two more just to shore it up at the back. But in League Two, you don't get that many sure defences really, because if you did have brilliant centre halves, then they wouldn't be playing in League Two. Let's be honest, they'd be playing either League One, Championship, or even in the Premier League. So yeah, I think Mansfield defensively as a unit, they're very good. Nigel Clough knows what it takes to get a good defensive unit to settle well and to be consistent. And I think that's one thing you can't really plan for is individual errors, as we've seen from a number of players in recent seasons. Yeah, just one lapse of concentration or a stray pass or a bit of bad luck. Ultimately, that can either lead to a goal or a chance, and they get punished for it. It certainly felt like it last season. Anyway, they were getting punished for everything. Mansfield were. So yeah, I think to answer the question, yeah, I think pretty solid. Might need one or two improvements here and there, but I think that he's kept the large chunk of what was a very good defence from last season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, it sounds like Mansfield are definitely going to go up there in terms of potentially being promoted eventually, hopefully maybe next season for you. But moving on with Nathan Bishop in terms of his kind of qualities, what do you think his kind of qualities are with a goalkeeper? Because you see more goalkeepers like De Gea with shot stopping, and you see more goalkeepers who are like Dean Henderson better with his distribution. And what would you say is the kind of goalkeeper that Nathan Bishop is?
I mean, of course, he's not the finished article, not by any stretch. Of course, he's still a young man, but he was a very good vocal goalkeeper, a confident goalkeeper as well. That was what we like to see. Fearless, like he'd come out and claim for crosses at the first shout. And again, what was quite interesting was that when you look at I go back to talk about the Mansfield Town defence, you had experienced players like John Joe O'Toole in there, James Perch, Ollie Hawkins, all of them 30 plus, all of them 6 foot. A billion or something like that, it felt like it anyway. And so for Nathan Bishop to come out and bark orders at those players, experienced players, again, it showed that he was a fearless goalkeeper, and he learned a lot from Seamus McDonough. Organises his defence very well. He talked about his distribution. His distribution, I thought, was very good. And again, it's obviously not the finished article, because if it was, he'd be playing in a higher league, and he might well do so. But his shot stopping was superb. Pulled off some miraculous saves at times. There was one, I think it was Bradford away, where I think Mansfield were 2-0 up at this point, and it was a cross from the right hand side. I want to say a header from Andy Cook. Superb. Like I mean, I said it at the time. Like that was a world class save for me. Like because he was at one side of the goal, I think left hand side towards his near post, had to dive across and claw it over his crossbar. And again, it's moments like that where you learn as a goalkeeper, and he certainly that day he kept a clean sheet that day, and that save sort of cemented his clean sheet. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head how many he kept for Mansfield. I think it was 17 or 18. It might have been 18 including the playoffs, but again, he was a very, very good goalkeeper, and he has everything. He's got a lot of potential as well. That's something I will say, like particularly with the grounding that he's had at Man United already, from his roots at Southend, from what he's learned at Mansfield Town, he's got like the potential to go extremely far. He's still a young man, and of course, goalkeeping, goalkeepers play on till they're 70. So yeah, he was superb for Mansfield, and again, I can only stress that they'd love to have him back. But in terms of his qualities, shot stopping was amazing, commanding his penalty area, guiding his players, organising his defence coming out for crosses, all the basics that good goalkeepers at League Two level need to do well. He certainly did very well in his first season, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of like his set pieces, corners, was he able to defend all them very well? Was he good with his saving penalties also?
I didn't see him save a penalty, unfortunately. It's just one of those where, I mean, Mansfield didn't concede that many penalties. It must be said from the top of my head, but there was one at Colchester which he got very close to. I know that doesn't help because it still went in, but you kind of, I like to sort of forgive goalkeepers who don't save penalties that much, because ultimately it's pot luck, really. You have to either know the player or you have to do your research and things like that. And when, unless you're in a cup competition, then you can't really plan for that sort of thing. But again, he'll learn that art in his future club, whether it be Man United or wherever it may be. But coming out for set pieces, again, he's confident. You rarely saw him make that many mistakes, and even then, like they were mistakes where you think you're forgiven for them because he's a young player learning his craft. Nigel Clough has brought him in to try and develop him as a player, and also to help Mansfield to get a good solid goalkeeper. We've seen it at other clubs who've come in and got a Premier League goalkeeper, young Premier League goalkeeper on loan, and they've done wonders for them. And I think Nathan Bishop was one of those, certainly up there with one of the best ones. I think it's just that experience which he'll get that'll help him develop into a great goalkeeper, whether that's coming out for crosses and or saving penalties and things like that, sort of organising his wall and coming out for corners, organising his free kick set pieces and all of that comes with it. Works very hard in training. One thing that I will mention as well was when we come in and do our press conferences at Mansfield Town, we go to their training ground, and 9 times out of 10, Nathan Bishop will be there already before like a lot of other players get there, and he'll be doing his stretches, he'll be talking to the physios, and so he took his role at Mansfield extremely seriously. I think that's something that was admirable about him, was the fact that he'd come in, he'd be doing his stretches, and he'd just chat to us in the media, which not a lot of footballers like to do sometimes. It's part of the job, but he was very a lovely guy to chat to. And again, I just wish for him and for the other players at the club that they were able to get over the line. But as it is, we go on into another season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and listening to what Nathan Bishop is like, his mentality is absolutely incredible. And that's what you do want to have at your club. You want a player with strong mentality, and he's got the qualities for the goalkeeper, as you say, to go high if he wants to go high eventually. Which of course would be his dream also. Would you say that he was the key, one of the key reasons why you got into the playoffs for Mansfield?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he made some crucial saves, and crucial saves ultimately save you points. I remember he made a save at the very start of the second semi-final at Northampton. Mansfield were 2-1 up on aggregate, so the first goal was crucial, as it proved to be. And I think it was within like the first 2 minutes, he had to pull off a decent save. And then from then on, it seemed to settle Mansfield Town's nerves a little bit. They got on the ball more, they got their goal, and that ultimately sent them to Wembley. But you think back to that save and you think, had he not made that save, the tie would have been level. Northampton would have had the tails up and they could well have gone on to get to Wembley. But as it was, he pulled off an outstanding save, did extremely well, organised his defence well on the day. Nigel Clough got it tactically spot on, and they got their day out at Wembley. There's not a lot he could have really done about the 3 goals they conceded against Port Vale in the final. Again, it was just one of those where you can do your best ultimately, but when sometimes things don't drop for you, drop the wrong side of the crossbar for their second goal, deflected cross for their first. Again, not a lot he could have done about it, but he made so many crucial saves during the season. And I use this phrase probably too regularly in commentary or match reports and things like that. And sometimes I call them match-winning saves or clean sheet keeping saves, because he did pull off a few of those. And even then, some of them we're thinking, wow, like that was that was world class, like the one at Bradford and various others, which are slowly coming back to me now. But again, he was a brilliant goalkeeper, and yeah, I do think that he'll go far, and he's a really good asset to any team that have him in the new season.
Mm-hmm. I know you've touched on a bit of the Bradford game. Would you say that was probably Nathan Bishop's best game as a Mansfield player?
It was one of them for sure. There was, I'd probably say, Leyton Orient away was also a good one because that was during sort of the barren spell where Mansfield could not find a way to win, unfortunately, for various reasons. There was obviously injuries, suspensions, and things like that, and it felt like there was a real low at that stage. But then they got a 0-0 draw away at Leyton Orient, and Nathan Bishop right at the end, a superb save again, because I think Mansfield had gone down to 10 men at that stage, and they were holding out for a 0-0 draw. Just a point at Leyton Orient would have been great, and I think the ball dropped to the edge of the penalty area and it struck goalwards on the volley, and Nathan Bishop just pulled off this fantastic save. And then at that point, you're thinking, right, that's the clean sheet secured. And again, it's difficult when you've got down to 10 men away at Leyton Orient, who themselves were, I think they were second when Mansfield went there. Mansfield were like 20th, I think. So again, it was an arduous task for Mansfield to go to. But again, the whole unit defensively, they did brilliantly under a lot of pressure, of course, when you've got Leyton Orient with a man advantage, throwing everything at you, including the kitchen sink. You have to defend well, and you have to rely on your goalkeeper too. And yeah, there was that one save at the end where you're thinking, right, we'll take the point, and that was another superb save. But it's hard to pick out a standout game really where Nathan Bishop performed extremely well, because I think he performed to such a good standard throughout for all 47 league games and then cup games as well. I think he set himself high standards. I can only think of maybe one game where he didn't quite do so well, and that would have been Port Vale away. And he's admitted afterwards, I think that that wasn't his best night. But again, a 22-year-old goalkeeper, you're bound to have them. You're bound to have moments like that where you should have got to that better. And again, that's something that I'd imagine he was probably in at 7 o'clock the following morning, working on his left arm, low down save, possibly. I don't know, but again, I think his consistency, that was something that was key to Mansfield getting to where they wanted, because he played consistently well, I thought. And I think the Mansfield fans, a lot of Mansfield fans watching this later on will agree that he was certainly a real asset for them. And if there's any chance that he'll come back, then they'll snap their hand off for sure.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It sounds like he's been a crucial player for you this season. It sounds absolutely brilliant, because I've only seen him in the academy, and when you're hearing good things about him playing first team football, regular first team football, because he played every single game in League Two. So that's great signs as well, and it also shows great development from him. My dad is in the chat. Hi to my dad. He asked, do you think Mansfield will get promoted this season?
First of all, hello to your dad. I think they will. I mean, they've certainly got all the ingredients to do it. That's for sure. But again, there's one thing that they do need is luck. I think any team that get promoted, they don't do it without a little bit of luck on their side. Mansfield have been unlucky this season. This season just gone, but then again, they have been lucky as well. I think it's just getting that right balance of it. But in terms of the personnel that they've got, the squad that they've got, they are more than capable of finishing top 7 at least, and top 3. They've been pushing for that for a number of years now, since they were promoted back to the Football League 10 years ago, in fact, or 9 years ago, but it'll be 10 years ago for this season. So yeah, I think that's been the aim for a long time. We've got very ambitious owners in John and Carolyn Radford. They want to, of course, both local. They want to take the club as far as they can take it. They've got a plan to get them to the Championship and sort of rebuild parts of the stadium and things like that, which is, again, it's very, very ambitious. But again, the ambition is there. Is that something that the town thrives on, really? Because Mansfield is it's a town that loves its football, and you can see that. You saw that at Wembley. You see it on a match day. They've sold recently announced that they've sold 4,000 season tickets, which League Two, again, for a stadium of their size, is outstanding. And you do think that they're on the cusp of something really, really good. And I can't wait for the 30th of July, which is away at Salford City, funnily enough, just down the road from you lot, which I'm looking forward to. So I think that they've certainly got the ingredients and everything to get promoted. But again, I can't say on record on live YouTube podcast and say yes they will, because again it'll probably come back to bite me next May, and they say you said you were going to get promoted. And I said, well, again, they could, but again, we'll wait and see. It's a long season, but they've certainly got every chance.
Yeah. Touching on Salford, you've been to two Greater Manchester teams, haven't you? This season with Oldham as well, who actually got relegated out of League Two.
Yeah. That was an interesting day. I didn't actually get to Boundary Park, unfortunately. We had a few issues with our broadcasting, so I had to go somewhere else. But my colleague who went certainly enjoyed the game. Mansfield scored in stoppage time, I think. George Lapsley with the goal to take all 3 points back to Mansfield. So again, that was a brilliant day. But I know Oldham have struggled on and off the pitch, and again, it's something you don't really like to see. But as far as I know, they're in a better place than what they were. So I wish them well in the National League, and hopefully they'll be back in league football again soon. We'll have to see how that one goes. But Salford is always a fun place to go. I enjoyed it there. It feels weird that it was the last away game of this season just gone. Now it's the first away game of this coming season, so it's like I've never been away really from Manchester. So I'm looking forward to going back there. It was a great game between two good sides. So they've got I think they're on the hunt for a new manager, or whether they've got one already. So we'll have to wait and see what happens between now and the 30th of July. But I'm excited to kickstart the new season again, and well, hopefully Mansfield can start it in a positive way and get all 3 points to set themselves well.
Yeah, definitely. Fingers crossed for you as well. Going with Nathan Bishop from Ravi's question, is he good at seeing things late at games in times? Late at times in games?
I think so. I'm thinking of various occasions where he has done that. I mean, there's been sort of shots that have been fired at him through crowded penalty areas and things like that he's done well with. Obviously, sometimes there's not a lot you can do about him. As soon as you see them bang, they're in the back of the net, and there's not a lot you can do about it. But one thing that he has improved on a lot, I've noticed this season, was his positioning. So he'd get himself in the right place. I mean, it was helped out by his defence very, very regularly, which is always good. They're a very tight defensive unit, but in terms of seeing things late, I thought he did well. I think there's a couple of occasions where there'll be things that were like deflect up and over him and things like that, and he'd backpedal and claw them over the bar, and things that would deflect, and he'd have to go down either side and deflect it away. Deflections off defenders as well, and flick-ons and all sorts. And I think he made a wide variety of good saves, and I think that's why he stayed in the team. Really, Nigel Clough actually signed George Shelby from Forest on loan, and they had a very experienced goalkeeper in Marek Steck as well, and Nathan Bishop kept both of them out of the side. I mean, I think Marek Steck, he's won promotion 3 or 4 times in his career, so he'd walk into any side in League Two, really. But Nathan Bishop kept him out with his great performances, and credit to Marek, he became sort of part of the coaching squad, as it were, to help better Nathan and George and young Owen Mason as well, sort of a trio of young goalkeepers that the Mansfield had. And again, like, credit to him. It's sad to see as a player when you sort of get put to one side. You want a response, and that was the kind of response that Nigel Clough liked, I think, from Marek to help develop the next generation of good goalkeepers, which Nathan Bishop is very much a part of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and touching on that as well, it just sounds like such a hungry goalkeeper, and keeping them kind of experienced goalkeepers out, it just really shows his kind of personality, and it shows his dedication as well to it, not just Mansfield, but himself as a player.
Yeah, for sure. He was in terms of Marek, he still had a year left on his contract, and it was one of those where you're kind of thinking, right, well, he'll probably find another club elsewhere, but unfortunately it didn't happen. So while he was still at Mansfield, he became almost like an assistant goalkeeping coach, really, and he helped develop young players, teach them other bits because he's been there and done it. Played in the Championship, League One, and League Two. So for Nathan Bishop to learn from someone like him and Seamus McDonough certainly did him the world of good. And again, just getting a good campaign under his belt as well. I think that helped. Playing 46 regular league games during the regular season, that certainly helped him for sure. And you do think just getting that consistency and learning the game and performing at that kind of level week in and week out. And again, it's a long, arduous season, and I see it sometimes where clubs will change their goalkeeper, whether they're played on a Saturday, Tuesday, or over the Easter weekend or something like that. They'll change it for a cup game and what have you. But apart from the 3 EFL trophy games that Mansfield played, where they picked George Shelby, Nathan Bishop played every game, including 3 FA Cup games, a League Cup, playoffs, everything. Bishop was number one, and his performances kept him there. And even if he had a bad game, then he'd be offered an opportunity to rectify that and improve on that. And that's the way he learned. And he did tremendously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because nothing for me, you can only develop if you have that game time. So I can imagine from where he was at the start of the season to now, you could see a big, massive improvement in Nathan Bishop. Yeah,
you could. You absolutely could. I mean, I remember that when he first signed, he did his first interview with the club, and you could tell that he had he'd done a lot of media training at Man United, of course. He speaks extremely well, a good, approachable young man, really, which is great to see, and that kind of reflected on the pitch in terms of his performances. Yeah, he was confident from the get-go. There'd be a couple of moments where things didn't quite go right for him, but then he'd make sure in the next game he'd rectify that, whether it be his distribution. One thing that he would do is immediately throw the ball out to a left wing back or a right wing back, and he'd like overshoot it and things like that. But again, it's things like that he'd think, oh, well, I'll do that again and improve. And towards the end of the season, his distribution was spot on. His kicking was excellent. For a League Two goalkeeper, he certainly was up there with the best of them, and you could see him develop through the season. He'd make some outstanding saves, and then like the following week, you'd see him make a better one, and that would just help his confidence grow as a young goalkeeper. And add to that the help and training that he got from the club, day in and day out. It was certainly a good grounding and hopefully a good education for him, and one that he can take on further in his career.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think this brings me on to this question from Reese on where do you think Nathan Bishop's long-term future lies?
I mean, I can't see why he can't be a Man United goalkeeper one day, certainly a Premier League goalkeeper. That's for sure. Of course, it all depends on who Ten Hag signs. Or various other clubs as well, but he's still a young man. I think he's 22, Nathan Bishop. So again, a few more, 1 or 2 more seasons in the lower leagues. Maybe League One this season, Championship next season. We've seen it before with various other goalkeepers. They learn their craft and their trade in the lower leagues, and then they get an opportunity at a Premier League club, and then all of a sudden that shirt is theirs. I can see long term him certainly playing in the Premier League, that's for sure. Whether it's for Man United or not, we'll have to wait and see. But again, I do hope that he just carries on with what he's been doing at Mansfield and sort of develops to the way he has been doing. He was on a sort of upward trajectory, that was for sure. And you do think that he's certainly a special goalkeeper, and with the right training, with the right education from the people around him, which he has been getting by the looks of things. I don't see why not. I don't see why he can't be a future Man United goalkeeper, maybe even for England. who knows? There's been goalkeepers where you see them on the bench for England. And you think, I remember them when they played for Colchester United or someone like that. It does happen. I think the Football League is in particular is a great grounding because you learn. I think when you get thrown straight into the Premier League, sometimes it can, sometimes it's either sink or swim. Whereas the Football League, you learn the skills and you've got an opportunity to nurture them, which Nathan Bishop certainly has been doing. And I hope for him that he'll one day get to don the beloved red of Man United shortly after donning the wonderful amber and blue of Mansfield Town, of course, for another season. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I think the future for him, long-term wise, is wherever he wants to be. If he puts his mind to it, which it no doubt will do, then I can see him playing for Man United one day.
That sounds brilliant. I'll end it here. Thank you so much, Jake, for taking the time to come onto the channel. And it's been brilliant to learn more about Nathan Bishop, to learn more about Mansfield as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. And I wish you all a good season. And hopefully, but before I go, hopefully, if you wouldn't mind just lending Nathan Bishop back to us, just for one more season, just till we get back into League One, and then we'll have him again. And then we'll see. We'll develop him for you. That's what we'll do.
Well, that is an offer I can't refuse. And if I was Eric Ten Hag, I would have given you that deal right here, right now.
There we go. Put a good word in. Thanks very much, Maisy. Cheers.
Thank you so much. And enjoy the rest of your day as well.
Thank you. You as well. Take care.
Bye. And goodbye to everybody who's watched today. I will see you soon. It's a goodbye for now.